Welcome to Money Lessons J, the place where we decode the psychology of wealth so you can stop chasing money and start owning your life. Today, I want you to step inside two homes in the same neighborhood, in the same city, with the same rent. In the first apartment, the tenant earns $95,000 a year. As you walk in, you see a massive 75-inch television and a leather sectional that cost $4,000. The kitchen is a graveyard of gadgets still in their boxes. And the closets are literally overflowing with clothes that still have the price tags attached. To the outside world, this person is making it. But inside, they check their bank account with a knot in their stomach. They are exactly 2 missed paychecks away from a total life crisis. Now, look at the second apartment. This person earns $52,000, nearly half of the first person. But the vibe is different. You notice space. A modest couch, a kitchen with only the tools that actually get used, and a closet full of clothes that actually get worn. This person checks their bank account. They have 18 months of expenses saved and invest 20% of every single paycheck. The person earning half as much has nearly 10 times the financial security. This isn't a story about income. It's a story about the hidden relationship between stuff and money. The first person isn't a gambler or an addict. They've simply accumulated a lifestyle that requires every single dollar they earn just to maintain. The second person discovered a secret. Owning less doesn't mean living worse. It means living deliberately. Everything you own costs money twice. The first cost is the price on the receipt. But the second cost, the one that keeps people broke, is the one we ignore: storage, maintenance, mental energy, and opportunity cost. Think about that treadmill taking up 20 square feet in your home. In most cities, that space costs you $30 to $50 per square foot annually. You are paying nearly $1,000 a year in implicit rent just to store a machine that usually just hangs clothes. Your stuff is literally stressing you out. Researchers have found that visual clutter increases cortisol levels and kills your ability to focus. Every item you own occupies a small slice of your brain's RAM. It has to be cleaned, organized, and worried about. Most importantly, every dollar locked up in a possession is a dollar that isn't growing in an index fund. That $15,000 home gym isn't just a gym. It is the $50,000 of future financial freedom you traded away to have it. Now that we understand the double cost of our possessions, we have to look at the rules that protect our wealth from the slow leak of accumulation. The first rule minimalists follow religiously is calculating the cost per use. Most people look at the price tag. Minimalists look at the value over time. Before you buy anything, ask yourself, how many times will I realistically use this? Then, divide the total cost by that number. A $200 jacket worn twice costs $100 per wear. A $400 high-quality jacket worn 200 times costs just $2 per wear. In a meaningful sense, the more expensive jacket is actually cheaper. This simple math destroys impulse purchases. That $300 kitchen gadget you'll only use twice a year. That's $150 per use, an obscenely expensive way to make a meal. On the flip side, a $2,000 mattress used every night for 10 years costs only 55 cents per use. That is extraordinary value for something that affects your health every single day. The math cuts through marketing fluff and emotional social pressure. It reveals what actually makes sense. But what about the stuff you already own? This leads to Rule 2, the replacement test. Walk through your home right now and look at every item. Ask yourself, if this item disappeared today, would I spend my hard-earned money to replace it? If you are being honest, for most things, the fondue set, the bread maker, the clothes you haven't touched in 18 months, the answer is a resounding no. These items exist in your life because of inertia, not intention. They were gifts you felt guilty about, remnants of old hobbies or impulse buys. These things have negative value. They steal your space and mental energy without giving anything back. Every hour you spend cleaning around or organizing things you wouldn't even buy again is an hour stolen from your life. When you eliminate these items, the weight you lift off your shoulders is massive. Rooms feel larger, and decisions feel simpler because everything remaining has a purpose. Then there is the biggest wealth destroyer of all, upgrading out of boredom. We see this constantly with high earners who have nothing to show for their success. They replace a perfectly functional phone because the new one has a slightly better camera. They trade in a reliable car because the neighbor bought something shinier. They call it progress, but it's actually wealth destruction, disguised as a lifestyle upgrade. Minimalists define functional very clearly. An item serves its purpose until it genuinely breaks or can no longer perform its required task. Boredom is not failure. The existence of a newer model is not failure. The average person replaces their phone every 2 to 3 years, costing them $30,000 to $50,000 over a lifetime. When you apply this upgrade culture across all categories, the waste can easily exceed $200,000. Minimalists escape this trap by realizing that marketing is just a way to convince you to solve problems you don't actually have. To stay financially stable, you have to realize that human behavior follows the path of least resistance. If spending is effortless and saving is a chore, you will always be broke. This brings us to Rule 4, create friction for spending and ease for saving. Minimalists don't rely on willpower because willpower is a battery that drains throughout the day. Instead, they design systems. Spending friction. This means deleting shopping apps, removing stored credit card info from websites, and unsubscribing from promotional emails that scream sale. The 24-hour rule before any non-essential purchase. You must wait a full day. This single habit eliminates about 70% of impulse buys because the emotional itch usually fades within 24 hours. Saving ease. This means making investments automatic. If the money moves to your savings account the second your paycheck hits, before you even see it, you don't have to decide to be responsible. You've already won the game. Rule 5 is about radical awareness. Count your possessions regularly. This sounds obsessive, but counting forces you to face the reality of your consumption. Most people guess they own 15 shirts and discover they actually have 45. When you realize you already own 47 shirts, buying number 48 feels absurd rather than rewarding. Minimalists often set thresholds, for example, deciding to only own 30 items of clothing total. This creates a one in, one out. If you want a new jacket, an old one has to go. This friction alone stops the lifestyle creep that eats the bank accounts of high earners. Now, let's talk about the lifestyle multiplier effect. Most people think a purchase is a single event, but big items are actually ecosystems of hidden costs. A boat requires a trailer, a hitch for your car, storage fees, insurance, and maintenance. A home gym requires flooring, mirrors, and climate control. A pool requires chemicals, covers, and a spike in your utility bill. Minimalists calculate the full ecosystem cost before they buy. They know that a $5,000 purchase might actually cost $12,000 over its lifetime, once you include the multipliers. This full accounting transforms a reasonable purchase into something clearly excessive. But remember, this works in reverse too. Selling one major item, like a boat or a second car, eliminates a dozen related expenses instantly, sending that cash straight back to your freedom fund. To avoid becoming a museum of past enthusiasms, use Rule 6, rent or borrow before you buy. We've all been there. You get excited about a new hobby like camping or woodworking. You spend $2,000 on gear, use it twice, and then it sits in your garage gathering dust for 5 years. Renting allows you to test if your interest is genuine or just a passing phase. It also teaches you exactly what you need, so that if you do decide to buy, you buy the right thing the first time. Don't pay the entry fee of ownership until you've proven the value of the activity. The final and most important step in achieving permanent financial stability is learning how to define enough before you start earning more. This is the trap that catches high earners. They never set a finish line. As their income increases, they upgrade their home, their car, and their wardrobe, so they feel just as stressed earning $300,000 as they did earning $80,000. Minimalists break this cycle by deciding in advance what kind of home is actually sufficient, what kind of car meets their genuine needs, what level of material comfort constitutes true satisfaction. When you define enough, additional income doesn't go toward more stuff. It flows entirely into saving and investing. If you decide that a $60,000 lifestyle is enough, but you earn $150,000, that $90,000 difference becomes the fast track to your total freedom. Without a finish line, you are running an endless race where your expenses will always chase your income. This brings us to a radical way to measure your life. Wealth is optionality, not accumulation. The world tells you wealth is about what you have, the cars and the houses. But true wealth is about what you can choose to do. Can you leave a toxic job to protect your mental health? Can you take 6 months off for a family emergency? Can you start a business without a guaranteed paycheck? Can you retire a decade early? These options are only available to those who have built a margin between what they earn and what they spend. A person earning $200,000 but spending $195,000 is a slave to their income. A person earning $80,000 but spending $45,000 is truly free. Every time you buy something you don't need, you are trading your future freedom for a temporary object. To make this permanent, you must practice cyclical decluttering. Most people do one massive spring cleaning, feel good for a week, and then slowly fill their space back up with junk. Minimalists avoid this by doing small, regular reviews, weekly glances at what's coming in, and monthly evaluations of specific categories. It is much easier to remove 3 items a week than to remove 300 items once a year. This habit builds an awareness of your triggers. You start to see which emotions or marketing tactics make you want to spend. Here is the ultimate secret. The relationship between minimalism and money is a virtuous cycle. When you own less, you save more. As your savings grow, your psychological need to buy a status or security disappears because your bank account already tells you that you are successful. You no longer need to fill an emotional void with shopping because you have the peace of mind that comes from financial strength. Spending less leads to saving more creates security. Security reduces the drive to spend. This is the path we saw in that second apartment. Regardless of what you earn today, you can choose which cycle to live in. You can own your possessions, or you can let your possessions own you. Thank you for joining us at Money Lessons. Start today. Apply the 24-hour rule to your next purchase and feel the power of intentionality.